everybody. My name is Jennifer Tepper. It used to be Jennifer Dang Pickett for those who might have known me a long time ago. And I'm going to step away from speaking about personal inflection points and kind of present a case study because I am currently working at a local, well, it's an international social enterprise, but it's local and based in Silver Spring. I will share that coming to Smith was a personal inflection point because I was kind of in the very left of center civil rights movement work, organizing immigrant communities in DC. And there was really this kind of common knowledge or this belief that all business folks were really evil. So I really wanted to spy on that and test it and see whether or not it was true. And honestly, coming here was one of the biggest connectors for me to bridge both private sector and public interest work that I was doing. And I've continued to do that through my career. So what I want to do is actually, I'm not sure which one, I'm a little drawn to both screens here, but this is an introduction. I'm going to talk to you about where I am right now at Trees for the Future. It's a 28-year-old nonprofit that's based in Silver Spring, Maryland. We work in 5 sub-Saharan African countries: Senegal, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and Cameroon. And we started as a reforestation project. So basically went around the world, all former Peace Corps folks, so for all those people who are Peace Corps connected here, a lot of former Peace Corps folks who wanted to go around the world and reforest, the world. But we operate much more like a 3 to 5 year startup. And so, it has some data points here about our staff and everything, and we are almost at the 150 million tree mark in terms of planting. But what happened was we had a social challenge that we wanted to kind of look at. So this is why we are this kind of 3 to 5 year startup. Most reforestation projects in developing countries have a tree survival rate of 15 to 25%. Okay, and the reason why that's the case is because where trees are getting cut down, there's usually a complete intersection with people who are hungry and living in poverty. And so as trees were growing, and as they became mature enough to use for either fuel, firewood, lodging, clearing land for agriculture or grazing, that's what was happening. And so we realized that if we could not address the issues of poverty and hunger, no reforestation project will have the impact that we wanted to see it have. So we could plant 150 million trees, but that isn't really, a 15% rate of return on that is really low. So our inflection point, and I'm going to pull from different people who came before us, and you'll see a lot of connectors with all the speakers today. Our inflection point was, well, how do we do that? How do we develop a series of common values, shared values, that can address the issues of poverty, hunger, and do it by planting trees? And so the 3 points that I'm really going to hit on today is what does it mean to have these shared values, how that impacts growth, and if you really direct that growth, what kind of impact you can make. So we came up with our own triple bottom line: food security, economic resilience, environmental sustainability. We have a people, profit, planet commitment, and we plant trees, we feed families, and we change lives. And the solution was what we call the forest garden. So this is an agroforestry technique that's used in a lot of different programs, but we just kind of put all of our eggs in this basket and started working in the countries we were working in sub-Saharan Africa using the forest garden. So these are pictures of what the land generally looks like before we start with our farming families. And land gets degraded to this point mainly because of poor agricultural practices and a lot of monocropping. And this is kind of halfway through. So our program's 4 years long. We usually attempt to plant about 4,000 trees per hectare to 2 hectares. And so there's a lot of training that happens with our farmers over the 4-year period of time. So this is about halfway through, and we start with seedlings. We don't start with full trees. And then these are our farmers, and this is what their land looks like after 3 to 4 years. Okay, so again, before, and then here's some pictures of after. And so we're really kind of revitalizing the earth in the areas that we're working in. So we're currently working with a little over about 3,200 families, farming families, which means indirect beneficiaries. We have anywhere from 6 to 10 per farming family. So we're in the 30,000 so people. So once we kind of figured out that that was our solution, we decided that we really wanted to teach our farmers, but also partner with particularly businesses who really care about the communities we're working in, care about forestry, care about their PR in terms of their CSR responsibilities, right? And so one of our larger partners is Trinity Oaks, and Trinity Oaks is a brand of the Trinchero Estates. Trinchero also makes like Sutter Home wines. They're just a huge vineyard in California. And so they started partnering with us, and we have multi-year partnerships with them. And they saw their sales jump 100% the first 4 years of partnership. They have Trinity Oaks is a brand for every bottle you buy, they plant a tree, okay? And we try to figure out what is the business model. So now we kind of go into the growth aspect. What is the business model that we can employ that would make us extremely viable for companies to want to invest with us? So coming up with those shared values, we ended up, and I'll talk, actually I'm going to go here first. So what we did was we productized our tree planting. We created 3 different ways in which companies can plant with us. That's it's very much in their language, right? So you have a plant a tree partnership. We've been able to reduce cost to 10 cents a tree. So for any product you sell, they're only giving us 10 cents of their margin, so it's a very easy and compelling method. That includes all costs on the ground because we work with local technicians and local staff, so it's local dollars. It's not as expensive as working with expats. We do adopt a project partnerships, multi-year. It's about $60,000 a year, full funding of full projects. And we have global cooling partners who are paying to see their carbon sequestered for the enterprise or for their whole business. So by creating kind of those 3 product lines, what we saw was just huge growth. So historically, and we do this for very little. Historically, our organization is about $1.5 to $2 million annual revenue. So we closed 2017 with 25% growth. We moved our budget from 1.9 to 2.4 million. We started this year with 2 huge multi-year investors, Tony Robbins, who some of you guys, maybe all of you guys have heard of, and Ecosia, who is the Google of Europe, and they actually plant trees with all of their ad revenue. And so at the beginning of this year already, we have seen 30% growth. We project to end 2018 at that 3.5 to 3.8 million mark, which means from 2017 to 2019, we will have seen 100% growth. And these are just some more stats, but that's an example of how Trinity Oaks also does marketing for us, you know, and we do a lot of marketing relationships with all of our partners. And so you'll see that we've had lots of growth in business partners, but also everybody's giving. It's not just one sector. Like in our individual growth, donor growth, you'll see that we've increased that 38% the last year, and it's everywhere from 5-figure now with Tony Robbins 6-figure donors to our monthly donors, which are about $42. They give about $42 a month. So it's not a huge commitment. And the last thing is growth is great, except but it's really important that you kind of direct it towards the impact, right? So what is this impact you're making? What exactly are you going to do? I keep thinking about Jigger's conversation earlier today about, you know, you can do all this great work, but if there's no real impact at the end of the day, you can't show for it. What does it matter? So we geotag, we use smartphones, we track. This is kind of the way in which we monitor. We have over 2 million data points, 15,000 surveys. We evaluate every farming family we work with. And this isn't the easiest slide to read, but the pie charts are what I want you guys to kind of focus on. After 1 year, the farmers that came into our program were reporting 82% of them were food insecure, meaning they weren't sure where their next meal was going to come from. And by the end of our first year, 86% of them said they felt food secure. So just in 1 year, being able to get them to use the land in a way that works for them, saw that much change in their kind of hunger and their hunger situation. So in terms of impact, you'll see this on our impact report. We look at trees per hectare, species diversity, and that's kind of our 3-year growth in terms of how many trees we're planting on the trees per hectare, and then species diversity, because you're talking about monocropping farmers who have not had any access to species diversity, and moving them to more than anywhere from 7 to 30 different species on their land. Again, a very small piece of land. And then moving up their marketable products, And you can see, of course, the various food crops are going from about 2 to 3 food crops that they can market or feed their families with to 7 by the second year, the completion of their second year. And then this is the big one. We use USAID indexes that we measure in terms of their dietary diversity and their food insecurity. So already by the end of the second year, we have surpassed our 4-year target of increasing their dietary diversity and their nutrition and alleviating food insecurity. So we've gone from, our baseline at 9 to now under 3. And the joke around the office is that we're going to be combating child obesity in the next 2 years because everybody's eating so well. So that really is the case for Trees for the Future, and it really showing kind of you can line up those values and really focus it on a way in which businesses can understand how you can grow. And how they can be part of that growth, and then really take the time. It's really important to make the investment in the impact and the evaluation of the data, that over a 3-year period of time, we've seen such great change. And so we're growing our programs, and things are working really well. We can say that we're planting millions of trees and also taking people out of poverty and hunger. Thank you.